Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the County Council Work Session meeting for June 4th of 2013. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes for May 28th of the Council Work Session. And it's been pointed out that there's one word that needs to be changed from food to good. In the bottom, if you're looking at the meeting minutes, at the bottom paragraph, the last word on the far left, regarding the hiring of county, making a good faith effort to use employees, vendors, and subcontractors. So with that, one amendment, does anyone have any other modifications or amendments or additions, corrections to the meeting minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second it.
I have two more. On the second page, second paragraph, second sentence, attended instead of attend. And on the third paragraph, it was actually 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth sentence down, after Director Doris Mason is seeking a treasurer for the Upper Regional Council from Cecil County.
From, not for. Robin, did you get this? Okay, there's been a motion and a second, and I'll add to approve the meeting minutes with amendments. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a presentation from the Local Government Insurance Trust. Tim Ellsworth is here to talk to us.
Thank you.
Help yourself.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. My name is Tim Ellsworth. I'm the Executive Director of the Local Government Insurance Trust. And we provide property and liability insurance to the county. Legit was formed in 1987 at a time when the commercial insurance market would not provide insurance for local governments, or if they did, it was at a tremendously increased price. MACO, MML, and 22 local governments in Maryland joined together to form the trust. Today we're about 179 members, actually 180 as for right now, and we currently write about $16 million in premium and total assets of about $56 million. Our goal over the last 5 years, after we did a study, is to return capital to members, to our membership, because our actuaries determined we're fully funded, and we've done we do a long-term consistent program. In the past year, we've provided premium credits to the county in the amount of about $150,000 out of a $500,000 price tag. So you get 550, so down to about 400,000 is what you actually pay. So I'm here today, though, to do a training grant to one of the employees of the county. And with me today is of course, your council president, your council county executive, Terry Moore. Terry sits on our board and has been on the board for 2.5 years. For about 2.5 years now, and represents this part of the state of Maryland on our board. And I'm happy that she was able to come today and join me in this. But my specific purpose is to provide a check to the county for $1,100, which is to provide tuition to Karen Dusick, your risk manager. Karen is enrolled in the Associates in Risk Management program for public entity. It's the premier program for risk managers. The Insurance Institute is the sponsoring organization for this program, and the county will benefit from this, my organization, because it will make her a better risk manager, better able to recognize risk that the county faces, and thus resulting hopefully in lower cost to you folks and lower claims to us. In addition to that, it will help her analyze the coverage levels that you need. It will help her analyze the appropriate deductibles, show her how to do the mathematical analysis to determine whether it makes sense to take a higher deductible or a lower deductible. And at any rate, just provide you an overall better service. So this is tuition check for the program. The board votes every year on the budget, and we're very fortunate to be able to give back $75,000 in grants to all our membership. I think since I've been at Legit for 3.5 years, I think this is my third trip up here for one of these checks, and it's always a pleasure. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for the check.
to shoot a couple more when she needs it. Oh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is further information regarding video recording of meetings. And Scott Mesnick is here to bring us up to date.
Good morning, Mr. President, council members. I'm back with more information for video presentation. You requested that I get a competitive price as well as some examples. I forwarded you several emails in reference to questions that were asked since the last meeting. I'm here to report today that one of the questions asked was, what would it cost to cover the work sessions and the council meetings, which is 6 meetings per month, 72 meetings per year. With the company that I originally got the quote from, Swaggit, there is a $1,050 startup fee, which would be covered by web updates in my budget. And then $1,250 a month. That would be live broadcasting and segmented broadcasting. Competitive price, Granicus is really the only other major player that other people are using, was $1,098 with an $8,675 startup fee. The reason the difference in fees is they require more equipment to start up, as well as some web branding. However, the Granicus quote is only a 50-hour bundle for 1 year, which leaves us for that many meetings only 0.69 hours. So it would be more than that quote for 72 meetings per year. That does not give us, 50-hour bundle does not give us enough. So we'd have to go beyond that $1,098, so we're probably looking somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,200 or $1,300. So clearly the price comparison between the two, the Swaggit is the lower cost. Examples of video streaming that Swaggit is currently doing in the area, they're doing the city of Wilmington, city of White Plains, New York, Newtown Township in New Jersey, Lower Makefield Township, PA, Montgomery Township, New Jersey, Borough of, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, somewhere in New Jersey, Williams Township, and Kent County, Maryland is live streaming only. They do not record the meetings and play them back. Montgomery County just came up on their school district, and that is live now as well, and that is with Swaggit. Another question asked is, how long has Swaggit been in business? Since 2003, they have over 180 government clients with 100% client retention. It's clear, I've researched both of these companies and highly recommend that Swaggit is the company that we go with for cost sake, and it's simply going to do, in comparison, it's going to do as good a job, if not better. Granicus wants to sell a lot of extra features with their bundle, which could come in handy in the future. However, as you purchase in lots and blocks of what services you want. So their pricing offering is not, this is what you need, this is what you get, it's this is what you need, plus we're going to give you a little more of different items, such as well, things that we wouldn't necessarily be using at this point. We definitely would not be using at this point. I believe that concludes all the questions that were asked in the last session.
So, Bottom line is, we're still recommending the original provider that you had mentioned before. It would be a little bit more than $1,000 in startup costs, plus about $12.50 a month for the service.
Correct. I'm sorry, it's $10.50 a month for the service, startup fee is $12.50, I inverted that. So it's $10.50 a month, $12.50 startup fee. And the competitor Granicus was $10.98 per month with an $8,675 startup fee.
For the benefit of the council members, can you put that in like a spreadsheet? The
Yes.
comparison of the two, and the pros, the cons, and the cost, pros, cons, and cost of each of the vendors. Are there any other questions from the council members?
Yes. As you know, I had requested this information, when I was first elected. I was very interested in video recorded meetings. And at that time, Granicus was the, service that you quoted, and it was very expensive. The Swagat is, you said Granicus is the only major player. Is Swagat one of many other of that level services?
Yes,
Okay, so how, is there a comparison of Swagat to some other services out there that could do the same thing?
Granicus and Swagat are the major players.
Okay. That's what I was asking. And I was hoping to do a public channel with the PEG channel, and saw that there's a number of benefits in getting the health information out there, our videos of our meeting. I think we might have enough content to have a loop to keep it playing. And from what I understood, that channel is available to us. The only major thing that we have to look at is providing the content. So, can you anticipate any additional charges we would have if we activated our PEG channel?
That's a very complex question. Certainly, yes. Distribution of any video is going to be a hurdle, as has always been in the past, with the situation that we're presented with in Cecil County. That is the 3 different carriers. If we were to have an office here where we broadcast to a carrier, which this is Comcast territory.
No, I understand.
Okay.
There's 3 carriers in the county. In our franchise agreements, each of them provided a PEG channel. So we would have to deliver the content to the 3 franchises that are doing business. All we have to worry about is providing the content.
No, I don't think that's true. We have to do more than that. You just don't hand them the information. They don't have a broadcast studio. There's a lot more complication to it than just having the content available. There needs to be a way of putting that information into the system, and we don't, that takes time, money, and I'm not speaking out against it. I'm just saying, you just don't give them the content and say, here it is, put it on television.
Okay,
That is
well,
It's a lot more complicated.
I'd like to know what is involved in not having a studio, not having to have a cost for, maintaining a studio, but, how much would it be to provide the content? If I could have more information on that, I would greatly appreciate it. I think it's invaluable service that we could get the message out. There's been a number of meetings over at the health department, alcohol, drug use, rabies clinics, and, all of our meetings. It'd be nice to get that information out there so the public would be more in tune with what's happening and what's available in the county or where the resources are for help. I think it's invaluable that we get this information out. Other counties have been doing this. The schools, having the meetings also broadcast, to get the citizens more involved. So that, the live streaming, if we took the live streaming feature off, how much could we save?
Approximately $150 per month.
Per month?
Yes.
So that'd be, $1,200 a year,
Yes.
okay? All right,
Are there any other questions from any other council members at this time?
I'd just like to confirm what Mr. Hodge mentioned, and that is, a studio would be absolutely necessary to run a station, because none of the providers have a station where they're going to say, okay, here's your content, and they have all the equipment ready to feed that video into the channel. We would absolutely be required to have a studio and have a person manning that studio, possibly two. This county as small as Kent County has 3, and that is, they're sitting there and all they're doing all day long is building and providing that video stream with a lot of equipment to a channel. So it's where the rubber meets the ground, put all the content together, put it out into a video stream with the programming, commercials, or whatever you want to put in that content, and feed it out.
and I believe I spoke with Kent County a few years ago, that it was part of the franchise agreement, that some of those, services were provided in their franchise agreement. And I'd love to sit down with you and talk to Kent County and find out how much would it cost Cecil County to get something like that started, just to get the conversation going.
I think the first step now is for us, the council, to make a decision on whether we feel it's worthwhile spending $14,000 a year, or at least for the first year, to have our meetings recorded and then available for those that want to seek it out on our website. So the question is, and this is not to be answered today, but I would like to have that spreadsheet so that we can compare. And again, I'm sure that there are certain benefits from each provider, certain deterrents and costs, but Mr. Massey can put this on our future meeting, and if the council members want to have a workshop to get into more detail about it, we can do that if it's necessary. But I think we need to start thinking about whether or not we want to spend, if we believe that that expense is worth the benefit. So
I think the question to ask, can you tell us how many hits we get on the audio?
I have sent that information to you since the last meeting. I can send it again.
Well, I probably have it upstairs, I'll have to look.
I don't think it's a matter of how many hits we're getting, it's a matter of that resources are there, for the public to access when they're researching, if they're looking up, a previous meeting that we've had. The audio, I know that I've run into many people that have used the audio, and it's better than the minutes. So I think the video is gonna be better than the audio. And to have, we can keep that indefinitely, yeah.
I would recommend that we keep both video and the audio, absolutely, because especially with the bandwidth challenges we have in this county, we are going to see people with dial-up connection or less than desirable connection, that audio is going to be the answer for them, because the video will take up more bandwidth.
The video, can we keep forever as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. No, I'm saying
Understood.
bandwidth. So if someone's sitting at home and they have less than desirable bandwidth and they want to listen to or look at the meeting, some people with less than desirable bandwidth are going to still pull up that audio, because looking at video is going to tie up their bandwidth.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Scott, for coming in.
For the $14,000, what is included in their proposal?
They will take the feed as the meeting's happening.
Which meetings? All the meetings we have?
4 work sessions and 2 sessions, or night sessions per month.
But that does not include any broadcast of the rabies clinic, school board meetings, public health meetings. That would be a whole other gig, okay? It's all in there.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is resolution number 58-2013. This is a refinancing bond. I guess what the YMCA is asking us to approve to allow the town of Elton to sponsor this bond. And I guess, Mr. Tomey, do you want to bring the council up to speed and explain to them what the sense of urgency is regarding this?
Yes, I thank you for allowing us to come speak with you this morning. The YMCA,
Could you introduce your...
George Patrick is sitting here with me, the executive director of the YMCA. The YMCA approached the Columbia Bank here in Elkton to refinance their bonds because the interest rates being so low would be a great benefit to them. Many of you may or may not know, but back in 2000 when the YMCA constructed their existing facility, the bonds were issued through the county. They are non-recourse bonds to the county. The county is not obligated under those bonds, but they have to be issued by a local government agency. When we went to go forward with refinancing, we started working with the county staff to try to work through the process and procedure to refinance the bonds, only to find out at some point in time that it's a technical requirement, but each local government only is allowed to issue so many of these economic development bonds in a particular calendar year, and you have already used up more of your quota than, so there would not be enough left for us to refinance our entire $2 million bond issue. We then spoke with bond counsel, and they indicated that since there's a substantial use of the facility by the residents of the town of Elkton, the town of Elkton could theoretically issue the refinance bonds instead of the county. However, since you are still the host jurisdiction, we are located in the county, not within the town limits. It requires a resolution to be passed by this council authorizing the town to go forward with those bonds. So that is what we were asking for. We've used up, unfortunately, a month or better getting to this point because of having to restart, and we would like to keep moving forward with the hope that we can have. The resolution requires a public hearing. We were hoping that we could hold the public hearing sometime within the next month, and at that public hearing get approval so that we can then start the process through the town. Now, as a practical matter, we're at meeting with the town. Matter of fact, we're going to be meeting with them tomorrow night and filling them in on the same process that we're filling you in, so we would have a parallel process going forward. But everything hinges upon and is contingent upon this board authorizing the town to issue those bonds if they see fit to do so. Again, I want to emphasize to you, this is basically refinance of existing debt. The county would not be obligated for anything. Any expenses associated with the reissue of the bonds would be absorbed by a YMCA, and the bonds would be issued by the town and would be purchased by the Columbia Bank. And in fact, the net effect after it's all said and done, other than the reduction in interest rate, is the YMCA owes the Columbia Bank the money, and no one else is responsible for making any payments, including the county or the town.
Have we received a copy of that resolution?
I thought that you had, but if you haven't, I've got a copy here.
Is it muted?
It's in our...
Yes,
it's...
Introduction.
Is there any objection from the council members to allow the town to sponsor this refinancing?
Well, there's no liability to the county, and it's just allowing them to get a cheaper rate.
That's correct.
And Elkton is agreeable, so.
Makes good business sense.
Yes, I don't see any objection.
Is there any objection for the council to approve a resolution after the hearing, immediately after the hearing, the same night of the hearing? Assuming that there's no objection.
Assuming there's no
Okay,
objections.
right, assuming that no one comes to oppose it, is there any reason that we can't go ahead and approve that resolution that night, assuming that there's no complications that would rear their ugly head at the last minute.
I'm just, this is the first, one of these refinancings that I've been, went through, and I'm not sure.
Well,
if
the
it
county
is-
did one just recently.
No, the way that we're doing it this way with Elton. And while I don't see, I don't know what anticipated objections could be brought forth, but if we, I think it was introduced as an emergency, and it should have been advertised that way, that it would be justified.
Okay. Mr. Tony, do you have any last minute comments?
No, again, to the extent if we can get the board to do whatever they need to do to hold your public hearing and be able to vote at the end of that evening, assuming there are no difficulties that arise from the public hearing, we very much would appreciate that, because, it would, again, save us a significant amount of money if we don't have to wait another month before we refinance the bonds.
The only objection I could see would be the current bondholder objecting because he's losing his interest.
The current bondholder is, I believe, PNC Bank, and they're perfectly okay, they're on board with what we're doing.
I could not anticipate a problem with this. And I think it's a smart thing to do, and the sooner you do it, the better it will be.
Mr. Tomey, can you anticipate any other objection?
I can't imagine what they would be. You know, life is what it is, and we'll show up that evening, and if something turns up, then obviously we realize we'll have to wait for you to come back and meet again, but I anticipate that you won't hear any objections, and that you will hear, people coming forward in favor of the bond.
Mr. Whiteford, would you have an opinion on this? Our resident bond man?
Thank you, Councilman McCarthy. The Department of Finance sees no reason to unreasonably withhold approval for this process. It is a somewhat of a routine administrative matter. Mr. Tomey was responsible, I believe, back in 2000 for shepherding this process through. It's a little bit more technical this time. One clarification, it's an IRS tax code issue about issuance of $10 million worth of debt, and as a practical matter, we'd already done a refunding back in spring, so that counted against it. It doesn't, that was the issue. It wasn't about, we didn't issue any economic development bonds this year, so there just wasn't any room for us to do it. That's why they had to go to the town, so they were able to issue it against the town. But I've spoken with Mr. Robinson in finance. There's no reason to unreasonably withhold moving forward on this.
And there's no fiscal impact to Cecil County.
That's correct.
Well, I would recommend that we move this forward as quickly as possible.
Okay, all right, we will be introducing this resolution tonight.
Okay, thank you, we'll be there. Meet at 7.
Yes. Next item on our agenda is a discussion and designation of a second member to the Upper Shore Regional Council. Each county is provide 3 members to the council. And I understand that the county executive is 1 member. Dinah Brumo is the other member, and I guess we had a question on who the 3rd member was. Okay. And I guess we asked Mr. Dunn if he was going to be a member and treasurer.
Well, I think I was asked if I would be a member, and I think I consented last week, if I'm not mistaken, and I asked for some more information on the treasurer position, which I haven't seen anything yet, but I'll consider, so.
Do you have any other thoughts or comments?
No.
Okay, so you're going to talk to Mike and give him
Yes.
more information?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Is that a plan?
That's a plan.
We'll have an alternative idea. Okay, then we'll move on to the next item, which is bill number 2013-06. This is the county seal and flag. Mr. McCarthy, do you want to discuss this matter?
Yes, for me, Mr. Michael Dawson presented me with this bill, which is 2013-6. It's an amendment to the flag and seal ordinance, the official seal of Cecil County. The original historic seal was first used 339 years ago when Cecil County was proclaimed the 10th county of Maryland on June 6 of 1674 by Governor Charles Calvert. The current seal that we all know exhibiting mallard ducks and flies in the water, they're beautiful, is not the rightful seal. The seal was established by the Cecil County Commissioners in 1968 after their exhaustive search was unable to confirm the existence of the original seal for Cecil County. The new seal was established 6 years prior to Cecil County's tricentennial or 300th birthday. In 1986, 18 years later, the state archivist in Annapolis established the original seal did exist for Cecil County when it was founded in 1674. The seal was based on the lesser seal of Lord Baltimore of England. Documents sent by Lord Baltimore to his Maryland colony bear the seal and therefore provide proof and evidence the seal did exist, was the first seal used, and hence the true and rightful seal of Cecil County. I now respectfully request your support of the bill to reestablish the lesser seal of Lord Baltimore as Cecil County's original and only seal. By doing this, we will set straight and correct the historical record of Cecil County. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Dawson is in presence today, and if you had questions, I would suggest that he might be able to answer them for you.
Do any of the council members have any questions at this time?
Councilman McCarthy, I'd asked, that a fiscal note would be done to assess the cost to the county for changing their seal.
Well, I've anticipated this question. I cannot give you a true cost of what it would be, but this would be phased in over a period of time. The stationary and other areas where the seal does exist, would basically, we would introduce the new seal as basically stationary, newsprint, or wherever it should, wherever as time goes on. Things of this nature, I think that they're probably made out of wooden stamp, are probably relatively inexpensive compared to most things, but an exact number I cannot give you.
Mr. President, the Department of Finance will be preparing a fiscal note prior to the public hearing.
Okay, good. I was going to ask Mr. McCarthy to ask Mr. Massey and the Finance Department to get a little bit more information on that matter. Any other concerns or questions from the council members today?
Well, I just, wanted to point out that, while, that may have been the original seal, the seal that we currently have has been in place since 1968, so it's therefore part of the history as well.
Well, this is much older history. And basically it ties in with the Maryland state flag on it also has.
This bill will be introduced tonight. There will be a public hearing scheduled. Public will be able to come and speak for or against the bill. Council members can ask questions or have their own opinions, and we'll give it a good vetting and come to a conclusion. Is there any other comments regarding this bill at this time? Okay, the next item. I guess, Mr. Dawson, if you don't mind, would you save your comments to the public hearing portion of the bill introduction? Okay, there was a question raised. In our agenda tonight, we will have some public hearings regarding some rezoning cases. In the past, the counsel for the rezoning to the county commissioners was Claire Campbell. The question is, do we want Claire Campbell to represent the council regarding the rezoning issues, or do we want to use our county counsel, which is Jason Allison, or someone else? That is the question before the council today. Claire Campbell has, again, in the past, been representing the commissioners in all previous rezoning requests for a long time, and I don't know how far back that goes.
Claire certainly has long time knowledge about the zoning issues here in the county. She advises the planning commission. She probably, she's up to speed on the cases that are coming before us. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't ask Claire to represent us.
Any other comments from any
Are
other?
you referring to Claire Campbell and her staff?
Yes, right.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Campbell
no.
Brown represents us.
Yes, in most cases, during rezoning cases, Claire Campbell has been
For law office.
her law office, but she's been here, when the previous commissioners, now, tonight will be the first time ever that the council will hear a rezoning case. Now, is there any objection to allowing Claire Campbell's firm to continue to handle rezoning cases?
As representing the council.
Representing the council.
Okay, well, we normally, not that I agree with it, I'm sorry, it's on the agenda today, on us to formally, adopt the resolution as, having county attorney Jason Allison also representing the council. So, I think it comes down to a, decision on who has the, who is well versed in land law, and they both are. Jason Allison represented the Board of Appeals, so, Claire representing the Planning Commission. I still have a problem with, we're supposed to be two separate parts of government, legislative and executive, and to have the same attorney who is hired by the county executive, will always, in my opinion, be representing the interests of the county executive. So, I've mentioned that before, and that's my opinion.
Okay, now, do we want, sorry, I'd like to have a straw vote on whether we want Claire Campbell to represent the county council tonight during rezoning cases. All those in favor of Claire Campbell continuing that representation, at least for tonight, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I oppose, just for the fact that we haven't, formally, I guess, adopted a resolution like we're in the process of doing for Jason Allison.
Okay. Then, my next question is, do we want to amend the resolution that's before us tonight to, incorporate, Claire Campbell's law firm into our resolution to allow her to continue to represent the county for rezoning cases?
I would say that's a significant change to the resolution, and it would have to go back for a public hearing.
We didn't have a public hearing on it to start with.
I would recommend that we have a public hearing.
Any other opinions?
I would suggest we use Claire Campbell and Jason Brown as our legal representation for rezoning cases.
We've already decided that. Now, the question is, do we want to amend our resolution required by the charter?
Doesn't the resolution say that we can use,
Funk and Fulton,
oh, it's just Funk and Fulton?
yes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, then we definitely should revise the resolution.
So, Mr. Master, would you prepare an amendment for that to be introduced tonight? Is there any other comments or thoughts or suggestions regarding agenda item number 7, council for rezoning cases?
Well, okay, this is having to do with that. What criteria are we using on deciding what gets a public hearing and what doesn't?
That's a good question. And all bills require a public hearing, all bills. And not all resolutions, and quite frankly, I don't think by code, resolutions require a public hearing at all. And I think the only one that we've specifically asked to have a public hearing on is the policies and procedures for the county council. But we should probably put something in our policy and procedures to make the determination of when resolutions would be subject to public hearings. But I'd like to have a discussion on that another day, or have a workshop on that.
Mr. President, what I would say at this point, with consultation with Mr. Allison, anything that we have to change an ordinance, the water and sewer, zoning, the handbook for employees, we have the public hearing, so it's any ordinance that we have. Now, that was what he suggested, but certainly, anytime the council would like to have public hearing on any resolution, you can do so.
Can we codify that in the policies and procedures manual? And then I would encourage by a majority vote that we would consider having a public hearing on a resolution also. If the majority of the council members want to have a hearing on a resolution, we could also do that.
And we would discuss them as they come up, just to
Yes.
decide whether we wanted a public hearing. That's fine.
Would you work on that? Okay. The number 8 item has been postponed and will be rescheduled, I assume. Okay.
Yes, and I spoke with George Brimham yesterday, and he forwarded information I can forward to the council, information to explain what he's going to talk about.
Okay. Number 9 is the review of legislation for introduction. And I guess we are going to introduce legislation for the rezoning cases? Is that legislation, or is that rezoning?
No, that's just to.
It's not assigned to a bill number?
No.
Okay. Mr. Centrum, do you want to talk about the rezoning cases that we'll be hearing tonight?
Certainly, Mr. President. 2 applications are on your evening agenda this evening. The first is file 2013-01 from Capital Development Partners. The property is located at 2758 Augustine Herman Highway on the south side of Chesapeake City. It is in election district 2, tax map 43, parcel 390. It is presently zoned southern agricultural residential, and the request is to change 0.6479 acres from southern agricultural residential to business general. Property is owned by John W. and Helen A. Myers Sr. Excuse me. The applicants appeared before the Planning Commission at their May meeting to present their evidence as a reminder for the existing council members who were commissioners as well as the new members. The burden of proof in the rezoning is on the applicant to prove either or both of 2 things. One, that there was a substantial change in the character of the neighborhood since the last comprehensive rezoning, which in this case was 2011, or that there was a mistake in the last comprehensive rezoning. In this case, the applicants were arguing a mistake based on the fact that the operation of Jack and Helen's restaurant had historically used this piece of property as part of that restaurant operation, and therefore it should have been zoned commercial business general as the other portion of the property that Jack and Helen's used. The Planning Commission as well as staff heard the testimony and forwarded a recommendation of approval to the council on this application. The second is file 2013-02 from Carpenter Engineering LLC. The property is 995 Turkey Point Road, Northeast. It's election district 5, tax map 31, parcels 274 and 1074. It's presently zoned low density residential. The applicants are requesting that, originally requested that 21.5 acres be rezoned from low density residential to high density residential. During the hearing, they amended the request to reduce that amount to 5.2 acres. The applicants are seeking to change the designation of the property so they can do a cluster development to allow them to put townhouses on the property, which the low density residential zone does not presently allow. The testimony was presented again based on a mistake being made in the 2011 comprehensive rezoning. Both the Planning Commission and staff heard that testimony. The staff recommended disapproval as we did not feel they met their burden of proof. The Planning Commission by a 3-2 vote forwarded the recommendation of approval to you.
Are there any questions that we can't wait till tonight to ask?
I have one, just one. On Jack and Helen's restaurant, would they have had to, change the zoning on that, parcel to be able to use it?
I'm sorry, to be able to use it.
Yeah, was it supposed to have been changed to, BL or BG before, because they were using it for stormwater management?
No, if for some reason somebody had forwarded a complaint to the county and said, hey, they're using that piece of property for some sort of commercial purpose, and it was brought to our attention that that was the case, then we would have notified them that they would need to go through the rezoning process to change it to commercial. However, obviously, as you're well aware, property lines are not well defined on the ground, so you don't know where the lines are. Nobody was aware of that this property was, the issue was not raised until the hearing that had been used commercially as part of the restaurant operation over the years. So there was no knowledge of that previous to the hearing.
And, when was this the old, I guess it was the old stormwater management ordinance? So you're saying that, yes, it should have been changed, if it had been challenged?
Well, if we were aware of it at the last comprehensive rezoning, they would have come forward and said during the process, as others did, with change requests, that this should be commercial because we've been using it as part of the restaurant business over the years, then, certainly that would have been something they could have done. But again, we were not aware of where the property lines were, or what their use was, so we had no knowledge of where the commercial activities were confined to, or what they spilled over onto other properties over the years.
Okay, and this opens up the question, is this gonna be a significant change in the neighborhood for other rezonings possibly take place?
That will ultimately be up to you folks to decide as people present their evidence to you as to whether or not it is a substantial change in the character of the neighborhood or not.
Okay, and then, is, one of the big issues that evening at Planning Commission, Mayor Gerasimos came in and mentioned it, that we had an agreement with MDE that only those, parcels that were in the priority funding area, correct? And Jack and Helen's had put their application in. Okay, so is this going to open up an issue with MDE?
No, the issue that the mayor referred to is that a prospective purchaser of the property was interested in a sewer allocation as well as a water allocation for that site, and he was concerned that the property that was subject to the rezoning request was not part of the priority funding area on the south side of Chesapeake City. Mr. Black has checked the locally certified priority funding area map and confirmed that that's not an issue, as this parcel is part of the priority funding area on the south side of Chesapeake City.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll be hearing testimony from the applicant and anyone for or against it tonight. Legislation, bill number 2013-05, Brownsfield Development District. Mr. Director Senstrom, do you want to bring us up to speed on any new developments regarding this bill?
Yeah, I think that's, excuse me, Mr. President.
Do you want us to go somewhere else? for-
Floodplain regulations, we have that as a third public hearing.
On your evening agenda, this is legislation number 3 is bill number 2013-04 is floodplain regulations.
Okay, yes, you want to discuss that? This is on our legislative agenda. I was using our work session agenda. On our legislative agenda for this evening, there is a third public hearing regarding bill number 2013-04, zoning ordinance floodplain regulations. So Mr. Senstrom, do you want to bring us up to speed on that item?
Certainly, not to confuse matters further, but the Brownfield item is number 7 on your introduction of bills this evening also. So I can go over both if you would like, but
Pick one.
all right, well, I'll start with floodplain, then we'll segue into Brownfield, how's that, and then we'll cover both issues. Floodplain regulations, the county has had floodplain regulations in and zoning ordinance since the late 1980s. The county is required to have local floodplain ordinance in order for individuals to take advantage of the federal flood insurance program. In order for us to remain in good standing with that federal flood insurance program and allow the citizens who are affected by either tidal or non-tidal floodplains in the county to purchase that insurance, we have to keep our local ordinance in accord with the state model ordinance. Additionally, the state has recently completed the FEMA has recently completed a new flood insurance study for the county and prepared new flood insurance rate maps. Those maps have an effective date of July 8, 2013, as well as the flood insurance study. So that in review of our local ordinance, MDE has noted there are several portions that we need to change in order to keep our ordinance in agreement with the state model ordinance, and that we need to adopt the flood insurance rate maps by July 8th. So subsequent to that notification, we have initiated the public hearing process, went through the Planning Commission at their April meeting. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the text changes, and maps will be adopted as part, in accordance with the recommendation from MDE, in accordance, as part of the adoption of the text amendment. No formal resolution has to be done for the maps, but they said it could just be included in the letter stating that the changes to the model ordinance have been done. So with that, that will be in for your review this evening.
Could you summarize any impact to the property owner may have to?
Yeah, there shouldn't be any noticeable impact to a property owner from the changes proposed in the text. The main change between the old ordinance and the new ordinance is that prior we had a 1 foot freeboard, a freeboard being the distance, the height distance between the top of a flood elevation for a certain area and the first habit of the floor. The new model ordinance has changed it to a 2 foot freeboard. But other than that, people will still be required to elevate new construction. They'll still be required to put in water equalizing vents. They'll still be required to elevate their utilities to above the flood elevation. They'll still be limited as to square footage of accessory buildings that they can place on their property. There'll still be prohibitions on certain types of structures, like mobile homes being placed in certain flood areas. So from that perspective, most of the individuals who are subject to flooding will not notice any change in the regulations.
Are there any questions regarding?
Yes, Mr. President. Eric, very simply, could you describe to me what a floodplain district is?
Yes, it's an overlay, basically, that the most recent flood insurance study, as I mentioned, was completed by the federal government, and it has determined where the floodplains in the county are. I brought a copy of that with me this morning in case council is interested in seeing it. This is the flood insurance study for Cecil County. It's a fairly thick document, and they have done studies on the creeks and the rivers in the county to determine what the flood elevations are. That has been mapped on what is known as a flood insurance rate map. That is, the new maps are aerial photographs with the flood plains shown on those maps. The floodplains are areas that are indicative of what is known as the 100-year flood. It's the flood that has a 1 chance of 100 of being equaled or exceeded in any year. And it's the area that's required to discharge the amount of water that flows with that associated flood. So within that area, you have the entirety of that is known as the floodplain, and then within that area, you have the floodway. That is the area that is most susceptible to the highest amount and most devastating damage in a flood event. And then the floodplain is the area that is necessary to carry the volume of water that is generated by that 100-year flood.
Would it be sensible to encourage people not to live in these areas?
That's a personal decision I guess most people have to make based on common sense and other factors, but some still choose to live in areas that are subject to flooding. You have tidal and non-tidal flooding. Non-tidal areas are you know, your community, tidal areas or some of your areas that are subject to, storm events such as storm surge type activities where the wind will push the water up in advance of a approaching storm, but, and then you have your non-tidal areas, which are your creeks, you know, like the Big Elk, further on up, when there's no longer any tidal influence, or the Octorara, or the northeast creeks and things like that.
Does the federal government subsidize these insurance premiums?
Yeah, it's a federal program. Private insurance doesn't sell it, so if individuals didn't take advantage of the federal program, they would not be able to insure their personal property against flood damage.
Do these maps change?
Yeah, the maps that are, you would be adopting through the adoption of these changes to the text supersede the ones that were done back in the 1980s. The ones back in the 1980s were not as definitively determined as the 2013 edition maps are. Much more study has gone into these maps than was done 30 years ago.
So there might be some people that are living in a floodplain that are not aware of that.
Well, and vice versa, some that may have been included before may no longer be within.
And if you're no longer within it, is there a guarantee that they would be able then to buy insurance, flood insurance through a regular insurance company? If you live within the floodplain, your recourse is to go through the federal government?
Yeah, if you're in a defined floodplain, then you have to purchase it through FEMA, through the federal government.
And how do we contact? It's up to them to, all the citizens to check?
If an individual is told that they are, generally what happens is when somebody's purchasing a property in the county, their lending institution oftentimes will call our office and inquire as to whether or not they're in a floodplain, and then we'll check our records to see if it is or not. If our maps indicate that they are, and the individual disputes that, then what they can do is go through the process known as a letter of map amendment or a loan, and they can hire a surveyor to go out to their property and establish the elevation through surveying to determine what that point is, and if it exceeds the established floodplain height, then they can request a letter of map amendment with an elevation certificate with the surveyor seal affixed to it to be sent into FEMA. They review that data, and if they concur that the property is not in the floodplain based on the elevation that's established by the surveyor, then they issue that LOMA, and that property is no longer considered to be within the floodplain, and they no longer have to purchase flood insurance.
But right now, we're restricted to what the report says.
Correct, unless somebody challenges it.
Okay, so this is gonna have severe, or significant, not severe, significant impact on properties, and it's to everyone's best interest to find out if they're,
Yeah, the map, after July 8th, the maps will become available for perusal, so individuals, if they wish to check to see if they're in the floodplain, are welcome to come to our office, or they can ask us to check to see if their property is located in it. We can check the maps for them.
okay.
Excuse me.
All right. Brownsfield.
The Brownfield ordinance, as some members of the council may recall, was initiated by the former Board of County Commissioners, who appointed a citizen review committee to work with staff to come up with Brownfield regulations to encourage the reuse and return of some of these vacant sites to productive use. That committee, excuse me, worked with members of the State Department of Business and Economic Development, as well as the Maryland Department of the Environment, to come up with the regulations that we could amend into our zoning ordinance. And the result of that was an overlay zone that individuals could apply for to be placed on their properties to allow them to take advantage of the incentives that are contained within the document. Those incentives include a fast tracking of the project if it's located in a commercial or industrial based zoning district. It includes design flexibility for both commercial and residential, commercial, and industrial activities. Encourages a greater mixed use type development in residential zoning districts in the county's growth area. It allows the freezing of fees for individuals throughout, as they go through the process, so they have certainty built into the process as to what their costs are going to be as they move through the development review process. As part of that process, our GIS coordinator, Mr. Black, went to the resources contained on MDE's website to identify the different brownfield sites that could potentially come in and request the overlay designation, and there are approximately 70 sites throughout the county that have brownfield designation by MDE.
Any questions from
Yeah.
the
I
council?
have one. Eric, do these 70 sites, if you put the overlay on the Plan Maryland map, are they all okay, or?
Oh, there's a, the greatest preponderance of these brownfield sites are in and around the town of Elton. And then as you move out from that area, Route 7, Route 40, you'll see sites heading in former industrial activity areas along those routes. There are some out in the rural areas of the county as well, but the greatest cluster is on the eastern end of the growth area in the Elton vicinity, and then moving down Route 7, Route 40 towards northeast. So most of the sites are within the county's growth area.
But the state did approve the overlay that you gave to them? I mean, they're saying that these are brownfields and it's okay to.
No, these are sites that are already on the MDE website that are saying they're brownfields. What this ordinance does is if somebody owns one of those sites,
They can apply.
they can come to the county and go through the rezoning process and request local designation or local designation of the brownfield overlay zone, and then once that's done, then they could take advantage of the incentives, as I said, that are contained within the draft ordinance.
Well, as I had mentioned before, I think this is a good thing that we incentivize the reclaiming of the brownfields and the Superfund sites. There's a significant higher proportion of these sites in Cecil County than in other counties. Here's a list. There's 70 that I have on this list. I think there's six Superfund sites. My concern though is that it's a administrative ability to where there's not checks and balances to decide on setbacks, density, design flexibility, and there should be some oversight either by the council or the planning commission that these decisions aren't being made in a vacuum. We're looking at the property rights of the neighboring properties. They should be able to have a say and to weigh in.
All right, are there any other questions from the council regarding the Brownsfield resolution or bill? It's
Just
a
one
bill.
more, on line 17, it says potential presence of a hazardous substance, pollutant, or contaminant. Can we have an attorney opinion as to what that could possibly mean? I think that might open up, well, could you tell me what, in your opinion, that means?
Let me just look here. Line.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The definition section. That was a recommendation from Jim Carroll of NDE to put that language in, because some of these sites have not had a definitive determination as to what the actual contaminant is on the site. And so he said that it would be good to have that language in there, so that would cover the issue as to whether or not, and then if there's determined that there is no contaminant on the site, then there is no need for the overlay to be there anymore, and that would not allow them to take advantage of any of the incentives that are contained within the document.
Is there any chance that we could refer to the state definition of a brownfield site as well?
Yeah, that's where that ordinance came from. I believe it was the environment article of the annotated code, if my memory serves me right. When we were drafting, that's what he recommended we use as the definition. But
it's not verbatim.
no, because changes were made by the committee, but we started with that definition.
I understand, but Kim,
If the council wants to change it to go back to what, it'll be up to you guys to decide ultimately what you want to do with that definition.
if you could, because it's very complicated, as you're recall, looking up the definition, you had to go to all these different sources. Could you tell me how our definition differs from the state of Maryland?
Yeah, I'll print those out for you and give you a copy.
Thank you.
All right. The next resolution to be introduced tonight is an amendment to the master and water sewage plan regarding the interconnection of the Highlands development to the Meadowview sewer plant. I mentioned Phil Music is here to give us an update.
Yes. One of the projects in the wastewater capital improvement program is 55052, the title of which is Construct Highlands Interceptor Sewer. And as you might recall, the scope of that project is to construct a sewer line from the Highlands area down to the Meadowview wastewater treatment plant, so that the sewage from Highlands will be, which currently is treated at an aged package wastewater treatment plant. That sewage will be conveyed down to the Meadowview wastewater treatment plant, and the Highlands package wastewater treatment plant will be decommissioned. That requires an amendment to the master water and sewer plan to reflect those changes. And at this point in time, I'll turn it over to Phil Music, our Chief of Engineering and Construction Division, for a little more detail.
Good morning. The amendment is actually a map change. Only the wording in the prior master water sewer plan described the project of moving the sewage from Highlands to the Meadowview plant. Unfortunately, the maps at the time did not pick up that in order to get there, you need to cross a number of parcels. And the fact that we're asking is that those parcels will cross in with a gravity line, be added as S2 parcels to the master sewer plan. It's a total of 21 parcels, of which 9 are directly adjacent. And a number of them do already have water service. There's a mix of both industrial and residential parcels. DuPont, Gore, and a couple other industrial parcels are adjacent. You see that they are potential customers at some point in the future.
Are there any questions from the council members?
Just to sort of go back, with Ken Simmons, there was an issue.
If you're speaking about SECO, is that?
Yeah.
That's a different sewer area, and that would go to Cherry Hill.
Okay.
And yes, eventually that is the plan to take that flow some years in the future to Meadowview, but that's quite a few years out. Right now, Cherry Hill's capacity to handle the SECO issue.
The SECO has nothing to do with
Right,
this
correct.
resolution or amendment.
Correct.
Okay, and we might need to have an update on SECO.
Mr. President, if I may, this was at the April Planning Commission meeting, and the Planning Commission recommended approval of this amendment.
I just have one question. Apparently this line runs, what, maybe 8,000 to 10,000 feet? It's like 2 miles maybe?
Yes.
I'm guessing. And you have extra capacity so other residents in the area, if they chose to hook up, they could?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Any other questions from the council members on resolution number 48-2013, amendment to the master water sewer plan? All right, we're going to move on to some budget amendments. Craig, can you hit them all one right after the other?
Yes, sir, I will. The first one is Citizens Core Program, Emergency Services. It is recording, carrying forward remaining balance of the grant for the federal fiscal year 10 as a performance period that extends through fiscal 2013, the amount of $1,591. It's supported under the Department of Homeland Security Appropriations Act 2006. The second item is a resolution associated with receiving additional expenditure appropriation authority for economic development. It's recording $29,006 for the fiscal year 2013 marketing grant, which is for tourism. We make an annual estimate in the budget as to what that amount will be, and this is in addition to what was anticipated. Third item, Cecil County Drug Task Force grant, asking for authority to record $1,200 for dollars received from the task force to purchase weapons. The task force granted funds to the sheriff's office back in 2011, and all but $52.94 had been spent. This balance has been shown as deferred revenue. This is just cleaning up some dollars that have been on the books for quite some time, and this is how we get them into the budget. This last item, neighborhood youth panel grant. A resolution approving and asking for approval and amendment to the appropriation ordinance in the amount of $3,384 expenditure appropriation authority. There's been some email traffic going back and forth, at least at first glance. This particular resolution indicates that it was introduced by the council president on behalf of the county executive, although at least up until this point, the county executive side had not. This was originated from the council side. I guess the point of all of that is that for all of the various amendments and resolutions, I guess ultimately they need to sign off on finance prior to hitting an agenda. In any event, this is for the neighborhood youth panel recording additional authority. Are there any questions?
It's an overpayment for the neighborhood youth panel?
It's recording additional revenue available for the program.
Okay.
Are there any questions from council members? Is there any objection upon the introduction and reading of these resolutions to go ahead and approve them the same night, or do we need to wait?
Just transfer grant funds. So I have no objection.
Okay, if anyone does, speak up. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and approve them tonight. Mr. Wine, you apparently have some appointments that you'd like the council to confirm tonight.
Yes, sir.
Would you bring them to our attention?
Yes, the first one, the county executive has appointed, and subject to the council's confirmation, Eric Marshall, who would be replacing Mike Klein, who resigned on February 22nd, and that term would expire August 2014. That's the Board of Appeals. The next request for confirmation is an appointment of Robert Palsgrove to the Economic Development Commission, and his application, all the applications for these candidates should be in your file. And lastly, is a resolution to confirm the appointment of the executive of Dan Schneckenberger, who would be a new appointment serving a 3-year term to expire June 30th, 2016, and a reappointment of Daniel DeMarinis, Renee Quietmeyer, and Lisa Webb to serve a 2-year term. And also Dr. Diet Devine, Mark Kamholtz, and Terrence Lovell to serve a 3-year term to expire June 30, 2016, to the Susquehanna Workforce Investment Board. Federal law relating to the Susquehanna Workforce Investment Board requires a business entity to make recommendations for these appointments, and you'll see a letter from the Chamber of Commerce doing so.
Are there any questions about the appointments that Mr. Wine has brought to our attention? Is there any objection on voting on these appointments tonight?
Yes, I think that, our protocol before was that we introduce them 1 week and we vote the next. If we wanna introduce them during the work session, that's fine, but not introduce the same day and vote the same day.
I guess I wanna ask why.
It's a matter of, the opportunity to, for the public to weigh in, and that there is a time period. A majority of these things aren't an issue, but there are gonna be some where people are gonna come in and say, we had no idea, we wish we could have had the opportunity to comment on this, and it's just a matter of, good governance.